Welcome back to Murder with the Missus. I'm Darren.
And I'm Amy. And today we're going to tell you about Tamla Horsford.
Don't forget to smash that like button. Check out the description for the links of all of our podcast platforms, Cash App, and Buy Me a Coffee. Like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to tell your friends. Always tell your friends.
See, I kept my mouth shut that time. Now, this one we're going to have to do in two parts because it's fairly long. And we don't want to keep y'all too long. We want to give you something that's a little more compact. So we're going to do this one in two parts. This will be part one.
Part uno.
And then part dos will come out.
Part two.
On Friday. Yeah. And listen, we just literally had a conversation because Darren is not liking the last few cases that we covered because there's really no conclusion. And
it's bullshit.
This is also one that doesn't have a conclusion.
Golly.
So
we got a whole month of episodes of no conclusions.
Well, there are conclusions. We're just not happy with them. We're just not happy.
I'm not happy with them.
Right. I
mean, it's like just when you think you got something,
yes.
It's like, nope.
I'll tell you what. I have another one that I'm looking into right now. It's an older one, and it does have a conclusion. So we'll do that one next.
All right. Well, let's get to it.
Just for you. This is one of those cases that has been heavily covered, but years ago. It remains one of those cases that divides people. So I wanted to tell you about it and tell Darren about it. This case involves a lot of people, so it's kind of hard to keep them all straight. I'm not going to throw out names unless I have to. That way it doesn't confuse anybody. This is also referred to as a case involving racism.
Yeah, so trigger warnings.
Yeah, trigger warning.
And everything. Mm-hmm. We try to say trigger warnings at the beginning of every episode, but I don't think we did on the last one. So
no, we actually did not.
But anyway.
We are in Cumming, Georgia.
Don't come at us.
Don't come for us. You're listening to true crime. You're going to have some triggers.
Yes.
So we are in Cumming, Georgia, which is in Forsyth County. Now, you might know Oprah Winfrey. You might have heard of her. She went to Forsyth County back in 1987 because this is a sundown town. Allegedly not one that proudly displays a sign, even though there are some who claim that there was a sign at one time. But this is a place where intergenerational racism is supposedly deep in the roots. So in 1987, there was the Brotherhood marches that were happening in the county. So that's when Oprah went there. And she went there to talk to people about race mixing. Her report was that no Black person had lived there in 75 years.
Wow. Really?
Yes. This is how bad it is in this area. Now, this was 87, so keep that in mind. But that gives you an idea of the area that we're going to talk about today. Now, I looked at census information closer to when this case happened, and we're talking about like 2018. The census information from 2020 shows that the population at the time was 54.65% white and only 4.55% Black in Cumming, Georgia. Now, Forsyth County itself was pretty close to that, with 70% of the people being white and 4.9% of people being Black. So Black people made up a very small percentage of people in the area, but they were there, right? So I don't know if it's because Oprah came and like blew the case wide open or what.
So what happened to the other 50% or 40%? And
they're all other races and mixes of things. Yes. So, but this is definitely more of a black and white racism case.
So more prominent white.
Absolutely. This is definitely a more prominently white area. Now let's talk about Tamla. I will preface this with what happens in the end. Okay, so this is the case of a woman who died at an adult slumber party. And the biggest thing that stood out was that she was the only Black person at this party. And that is why we talked about racism in the area, because this really is one of those cases that it's very suspicious to begin with. And then you have the additional level of possible racism being involved, and it's very controversial. So as you listen, you can be the judge. Tamla was born in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in 1978. Her family moved to the Bronx when she was 11, so that was in 1989. And then she moved to Florida, and that's where she met Leander, and they would end up getting married. Now, he is referred to as Lee a lot of the time. Lee had a daughter from a previous relationship, and Lee and Tamla would go on to have 5 boys together.
Dang.
5 boys.
That's a crew.
That's a lot of testosterone in that house.
That's a crew right there.
Yes. The family moved to Cumming for Lee's job in 2013, and Tamla was a stay-at-home mom. She was described as the life of the party. She liked to have fun, dance, and laugh. People gravitated to her warmth and her energy. And they say that everywhere that she lived, it was her house that became the house that all the neighbors and neighborhood kids would congregate at, because it was just like the fun house. She was a sports mom, so she's on the sidelines at the football games with a megaphone yelling. You'll see a lot of pictures of her like that. One of her sons had started middle school and was now playing football on a different team at a different school. But Tamla made friends with a fellow sports mom, because I feel like youth sports kind of take over every ounce of your spare time. So the only place to meet new people most of the time would be at practices and things like that, because that's where you're at all the time. And that's what happened here. Now, her name of the woman that she made a friend with, it's spelled Jeanne, right? So you would think her name was Jean or Jeanne, something like that, but it's actually pronounced Jean. So they spent almost every Saturday together at practices and then games too. So I don't know if you'd call them like friends exactly, but they talked at practices and stuff, so they knew each other to a point. Now, in Jean's interview with authorities, there was a lot of audio of this, so you can listen to it. She says that she met Tamla a couple of months before this incident happened. The weekend before was Halloween of 2018, and Jean had invited Tamla and her 3 middle kids to her house to carve pumpkins. There were several moms and kids coming over there, so there was a lot of people. And Jean had recently been divorced and had a boyfriend, Jose. He was a pretrial probation officer, so he was usually there when Jean's 4 kids were with their dad. But he was there for the pumpkin carving, so he would come over when the kids were there. She also had an aunt, Madeline, that stayed at Jean's house sometime, and she would be like that aunt that came to visit but then stay for 4 months and then go home. She's that kind of person. And she wasn't a blood relative. She was actually her mom's best friend.
Well, you know, non-blood family counts too.
It does. Absolutely. So they're all at the house for pumpkin carving along with the other moms, including Stacy and Diane. Now, Diane and Tamla knew each other already because their kids had went to elementary school together. So at this pumpkin carving party, the adults are drinking and using knives to carve pumpkins, as you do. Jean says that she came out onto the patio at one point and found Tamla, Diane, and Aunt Madeline smoking pot. Now, she told them to stop because Jose was there, and with his ties to law enforcement, they couldn't be doing that at the house. It wasn't a big deal, just a my bad moment, and all was good. Now, after the pumpkin carving party, Stacy sent out evites for like Jean's birthday party, which was the very next weekend, November 3rd. Jean was a big LSU fan, and she wanted to watch the LSU-Alabama football game, so they planned the party around that. It would be at Jean's house, and they planned to be drinking. So they decided to have like a woman's-only slumber party so that no one would have to put on makeup, dress up, or drive home after they had been drinking all day or night. Jean wasn't too involved in the planning. It's her own birthday. So in the interview, she says she didn't know much, just that people are coming over to her house. And she said, it's just my house. Lucky me.
Well, you know, it doesn't sound like, you know, she was too happy about that.
Right? Like, they're just using my house.
Yeah.
Yay. I caught that too. Weird way to put it. But she didn't say anything negative about it, like that she didn't want people there or anything. So Tamla knew Jean and now Stacy. She knew Diane a little from before. And she had met another of the partygoers, Bridget, once before. So she thought she might not want to go to this party because she didn't really know anybody very well. You know, even the people that she knew, she had only known through sports. And so it wasn't like they had deep connections. But hell, it sounds like she was a party like herself. So she could definitely make the best of it. And Lee had plans that night, but he canceled them and told her, listen, you need a break from these kids. So go and have some fun. I got the kids. Don't worry about it. So Tamla did go ahead and cook them all dinner before she left for the party. So she got to the party at around 8:30 p.m. She did bring Jean a bottle of tequila for her birthday. She brought a small overnight bag. So shortly after she got there, she changed into her pajamas. I mean, it is a slumber party. This was a white onesie with black paw prints all over it. It was really cute. Now, I mentioned this is women's only, right? But there did end up being men there. So Jose was there and Stacy's husband, Tom. They were supposed to go out and watch the game like at a bar or probably Buffalo Wild Wings or something. But one of the men had stomach issues, so they ended up staying and watching the game in the basement downstairs and drinking beer to stay out of the women's way. John had a finished basement that was kind of set up like a theater room. So
sounds like a pretty nice house.
It's a pretty nice house. So you'll see on the case pic, this is the back of the house. So when I say patio, that is that lower portion. And then when I say balcony, I'm talking about the upper portion.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind as you're listening. The balcony, like I said, it comes off the main floor of the house. So the patio is actually what comes from the basement part of the house. Gotcha. Now, I will also mention that since then, these party goers have been dubbed the Forsyth 12. So if you ever look into the case, if you see Forsyth 12, it's the people from the party. Tamla gave Jean a bottle of tequila from Mexico, and she said she didn't really drink tequila. Tamla insisted that it's good. Like, listen, this is imported. It's good. Look at all them stamps on there. This thing came straight from Mexico. But when Jean smelled it, she says that she actually threw up in her mouth a little bit. Rude. Now, Tamla was also the only cigarette smoker at the party. So she would go out for smoke breaks. And the women, while she was outside on one of these smoke breaks, actually passed that bottle of tequila around and smelled it. And so they were all like making jokes about it. And they're like, I'm not drinking that. You know, just being snotty.
That's rude.
Yeah, they're being very snotty. So Tamla ended up being the only one who drank that tequila that night. John was drinking blueberry bucks, which she said is blueberry vodka and ginger beer. Ugh. So I don't trust her taste anyways.
Ugh. That don't even sound good.
I know.
I'm going to get a lot of crap for that. Oh, that's the best thing ever. Don't sound good, though.
Next time we go out, I'm going to be like, can we get a blueberry bucks, please?
Nope.
Now, at one point, Tamla, Madeline, and Stacy were outside again smoking pot. Now, John had told them again they had to stop doing that because Jose was there. She was a little irritated this time, telling Tamla that I've already told you. I literally just told you last weekend that you can't do this, and here you are again, a week later, doing it again. So at around halftime, the men came upstairs to eat gumbo because Madeline had made gumbo for everybody, and they sang happy birthday to Jean. They went to the store to get ice and then spent the rest of the night upstairs with the women. The last person to arrive to the party was Paula, and she got there late. Sarah and Nicole had refrained from drinking that night so that they could go home, so they left shortly after Paula got there. Now, the football game is now over, and Tamla FaceTimed Lee and the boys to tell them goodnight. Lee felt better about her going because he could tell that she was having fun in this FaceTime. People were getting on the screen to tell them all good night, so they're passing the phone around. He could tell everybody's having a good time. It's all good. And then she FaceTimed her stepdaughter who was pregnant because, Tamla was pretty excited to be a grandmother. So,
well, I bet. Yeah, she has,
What,
5 boys?
Yeah, I bet I wonder if her stepdaughter had a boy.
Yeah.
I didn't look into that, but I really hope it was a girl. Yeah. Now they need to balance things out a little bit around there, so I'm hoping she got a girl out of the mix. Now, at one point in the night, several people were on the balcony trying to light the fire pit. John said that they realized that the tank was empty, so they tried to change the tank out. And she helped them, but she left them because she didn't want to be out there with drunk people trying to light gas with a lighter. Can't say I blame her there. They didn't ever get that lit, and so they just gave up on it. But there are other pictures and videos from that night where they are yelling about it being her turn in Cards Against Humanity because she was holding up the game because she was on the phone on the FaceTime. Not angry yelling, just friendly shit talking, After the game, things are winding down. Another partygoer, Jen, had come in a little hot on the drinking. She apparently had a troubled history with alcohol. They didn't agree with each other. So she had to be escorted to bed at about 12:45 to watch Shrek and chill. Now, at about 1 to 1:15 in the morning, everyone else starts talking about sleeping arrangements. Tamla decided that she was just going to go home. Now, Stacy, Tom, and Jean talked her into staying. No, you've been drinking. We don't want you driving. Just stay here.
Yeah.
Now, only Jen, everybody said only Jen was fall over drunk, but they didn't want to take any chances. So Tamla decided to stay. But she wasn't tired yet.
And I mean, she was trying to leave. So I mean, keep that, I'll keep that in mind too.
Right. Keep it in mind that she wanted to leave.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think right now we'll go ahead and take a little break for the sponsor of today's case.
Yeah. So hang in there with us. We'll be right back.
Do you or someone you know live in an apartment community? Are you balling on a budget? Make your money work for you.
Some apartments don't even offer a washer and dryer included in the lease. If you want that life, you need to contact My Laundry Solutions.
They service areas in Oklahoma, Missouri, and Texas. Their newest location is in Fort Worth, with more locations opening in Texas in 2025 and 2026. Check the website for locations near you. There's no credit check. Every contract includes free local service. They professionally install, and your account is available 24/7 online. Go to your leasing office, go to mylaundrysolutions.com, or call 800-535-4411.
Stop wasting your hard-earned money at the laundromat and give My Laundry Solutions a call today.
Yeah.
Yeah, give them a call today.
Stop wasting your money. Okay. Now, everyone at this point, like I said, they're making sleeping arrangements, and everyone has a sleeping buddy except for Tamla. She wanted a sleeping buddy too. So Stacy, this is so drunk people behavior. Stacy left her phone downstairs next to Tamla's so that their phones could sleep next to each other. This is drunk people shit. I can't make it up. Everyone goes to bed, leaving Tamla and Bridget, the only two that are still awake. Now, Bridget has issues with anxiety, and she doesn't sleep well at other people's houses. So she was up waiting for her husband to come pick her up. And Tamla was visiting with her in the kitchen while she was eating some more of that gumbo. Jose says in his audio interview that he went down to get his phone charger from the basement and saw Tam in the kitchen eating and talking to someone, but he didn't see who it was. But we now know it was Bridget. Bridget's husband gets there, and Bridget leaves at 1:47 a.m. She said that Tamla walked her to the door. She was planning on smoking one more cigarette and then going to bed shortly after, so she gave Bridget a hug and a kiss and closed the door behind her. The next morning, or I guess you'd say later that morning, Aunt Madeline gets up and goes to the kitchen to start the coffee at about 8:45 a.m. She looks out the window and sees someone lying on the ground outside, wearing those paw print pajamas, but she's not moving. So Madeline gets on her knees and says a prayer before going upstairs to knock on Jose and Jean's door. As she comes up to the door, though, she hears water running. Thinking that they're in the shower, she knocks softly on the door.
Wouldn't you need to knock louder so they could hear over the shower?
That was my thoughts too.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. So she knocks softly. She doesn't get an answer. So she ends up going back downstairs. She saw that the body was still there, that it hadn't moved. So Madeline went back upstairs and knocked louder this time. They tell her to come in, and Madeline says she needs Jose. When Jean asks why, Madeline says, quote, "Your friend from the islands is laying in the backyard, not moving," end quote.
Really?
Yes. She said she couldn't remember Tamla's name. She'd only met her once, but she knew that she had come from the Caribbean. Now, Jose and Jean, here I go. Jean, get up, get dressed, and run downstairs. I say that because they were not in the shower. They were in bed, asleep.
So where did the water come from?
Riddle me that, Batman. Jean calls 911 at 8:59 a.m., saying that they need an ambulance and police. She tells the operator she was drinking and it looks like, I'm guessing maybe she fell off the balcony. She's stiff. So the operator asks if she's breathing, and John says, I don't know. She's face down. And then she hands the phone to Jose. He says, hey, this is Jose Barrera. And the operator's like, hey, like they know each other.
Sup?
Yeah, sup, bro. And the operator asked if he had checked to see if she was breathing. He says, she's not moving one bit. She's not breathing. I just tried to assess her. She's completely face down in the yard. She is stiff. The operator asked if there's any blood anywhere. He says he doesn't know if he should move her. She's completely face down. So I think it's like 18 times now that I've counted that they've said she's face down. We get it. Answer the question.
So how do you try to assess her?
Oh, I'll tell you here in just a second.
He's like assessing the situation?
No, he actually says that he determined if she was alive or not. Hang on, I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So she tells him to see if she's breathing, right? Okay. Just try, just give it a shot. And then the audio cuts out for about 20 seconds. And you can tell that they were talking during that time because when the audio comes back, the operator is saying, that's the only blood you see? And he says, yes, without moving her over.
So was it just the recording or was it deleted?
Don't know. It's just gone. Those 20 seconds are gone. Where he's talking about where there's blood. It's gone. He also says he sees a small cut on her right wrist, and he doesn't know if it was self-inflicted or not. Okay. Police arrive at 9:07 a.m., but Tamla, sadly, was already deceased. We know this. Her body was transported to the GBI, which is the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, for autopsy, but the police did investigate this as an accident. They did gather the people in the house. So who was left there? You got Jean, Jose, Madeline, and Jen, the one who was super drunk the night before, and had them all wait to be interviewed. All in the same room. Yeah. Okay. Now, they did have Jean call back the people at the party, too, so that they could get the whole story of what happened leading up to her death.
Yeah.
Now, when those at the house that were there already were interviewed, they all said that she had been seen laying face down. Again, here we go. Like Jose said over and over and over in the 911 call. And he means face down. Her head was not to either side. It is straight on, like nose on the ground. The incident report by the lead investigator, Mike Christian, says Tamla's body position was examined at the scene, citing, most notable, when Tamla was turned over, was the fact that she had come to rest face down. Her head had not been canted to one side or the other, right? Mm-hmm. Her arms and legs were straight down. And I mean arms by her sides, palms up, legs straight out from her body. And they were all very adamant that this is how she was found, right? This is what all the partygoers are saying. But one of the cops did a stick figure drawing of how she was found when they got there, and her left arm is extended and bent at the elbow. And the crime scene pictures show her hand was palm down with her fingers curled under. Mm-hmm.
So how'd that happen?
Well, that's a great debate. How did that happen? Because they were very adamant, every single one of them. Her arms were straight to her sides. It was the weirdest thing they'd ever seen. Now, Jose did tell investigators that he did actually touch her body, right? You're like, how did he assess her? He moved her leg to see if she was alive. Okay, buddy. One of the deputies at the scene originally said in his initial report, I saw what appeared to be a deceased female, so I went inside and started questioning people. Okay. Good investigation, sir. But when the GBI questioned him later, he said that he did take her pulse, and maybe he could have possibly moved her arm when he did, and that would be why her left arm was bent.
And moved her fingers?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. Now, investigator Christian's initial theory was that she didn't fall from that balcony, because that's what they're thinking. They're thinking that she was on that top and she fell off and
straight
landed,
on.
like literally landed with her feet almost in that surrounding part of the patio at the bottom and her head away at the opposite direction. Weird. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, she didn't fall from the balcony. I bet what she did was she possibly tripped over that landscaping edging that matched some scrapes that were on Tamla's shin. Not sure how that makes sense because it's literally edging that's like this high off the ground. It is very low to the ground.
Yeah.
And there is mulch that is kicked over the edging in the area where her body was found.
That makes sense.
So tripping or maybe being drug over it would
True.
be something they would want to look into. Now, everyone is saying, though, that she fell off this balcony. Jose even said that after Madeline came in the room, he got dressed and went out onto the balcony. He found an unsmoked cigarette and lighter on the floor of the balcony. Now, he has OCD, so he picked it up and set it on the fire pit. He says in audio recordings with the police that he did this before seeing Tamla's body and that he wouldn't have moved anything if he knew what he was about to walk up on.
But the aunt told them that she was laying in the backyard.
100%. Your friend from the islands is laying in the backyard, not moving. So why would he say he didn't know what he was walking up on?
Exactly.
Make it make sense. But also, why would he go out onto the balcony?
Yeah.
Why? Madeline said that she was in the backyard. So that's one of the many things that don't make sense because let's talk about that there was no fingerprints done. Nothing was fingerprinted. There was no sexual assault kit done on her. Her fingernails were not checked for any foreign DNA. They didn't test the bottle of tequila that only she drank out of to see if maybe there was something going on there. Like there were so many things. They just treated this like an accident and moved on. But the GBI public affairs director said that it's standard policy not to test for illicit substances when the possible suspect is deceased, as there would be nobody to hold accountable if they found any drugs present. So I guess because they believe that this was an accident, that Tamla is called the suspect, like she did this to herself. So basically, standard operating procedure is to assume the dead person did it and then don't investigate to prove or disprove that. So that's really good to know. But I think right here is a good place that we can stop, and we'll save the rest for part 2 to get more into the investigation and what's happened since then. We'll talk about the notification, the aftermath, and where the case is today. So you're going to want to make sure you listen to part 2.
Yes, to get more information.
I would say conclusion, but you're not going to get one. I'm just telling you right now.
You'll get some more information where you guys can come with your own conclusion.
100%. Yes.
So
now, if you do like our content, please like, share, subscribe. Go ahead and click that notification bell to get, notifications. We do have a Cash App. It's at #MWTMPod.
We also have a caffeine addiction. What?
I typed that up for him to say.
Oh, you'd say it.
We also have a caffeine addiction, so you can also head over to buymeacoffee.com/MWTM.
And don't forget to tell your friends, as always. She typed that up at the end for me to read, and it tripped me up.
I like to do that every once in a while.
That's pretty funny. But anyway. All right, so that's the end of this episode. Make sure you guys come in for part 2.
Dope.
And like we always ask, like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends. And we're looking for subscribers. That's the main thing. So until next time.
Bye.
Bye.